Subsurface interface radar is a new high-technology tool which allows examination of objects underground without preliminary digging or excavation. The principle is simple enough. Electromagnetic pulses, or short-wave-length electric energy bursts, are transmitted into the ground. Echoes from these pulses bounce back and are measured by a receiver. The echo time can be translated into readings which are graphically recorded on a continuous roll of paper, such as an electrocardiogram printout. Thus, objects beneath the surface of the ground level may be located and, to some degree, measured. In the summer of 1986, Ron and his team have assembled once again and have received the necessary permits from the Turkish government in order to perform the radar scan. Ron and the crew are poised and ready when once again the unpredictabilities of the region rear their heads and stop Ron and his team short in their tracks.
We got back to America, raised the money, and made the arrangements to get a subsurface interface radar system out to eastern Turkey. We had the appropriate permit at this point in time. Now, we had been informed that we were in some danger of terrorists attacking us or taking us hostage. And in the light of this, the Turkish government provided a group of 30 commandos that accompanied us out to the boat formation each day, and they would go out and hide themselves in the crevices, canyons and whatnot around the boat site. Now, what happened just took a matter of seconds, but to me it seemed like several minutes. Our Turkish commandos just rose up literally from the earth where they had been hiding and decimated these terrorists with automatic gunfire.
Once again, the thunder of death and violence echo off the walls of Doomsday Mountain. The commandos take their work seriously, and these are the results. Out of necessity, the laws of these lands are harsh and strict, and these terrorists' guns are silenced forever. Ron makes the Turkish headlines, but not with the news he'd wanted. No one likes being a part of something like this.
This effectively stalled our attempts to do a radar scan on the boat, and of course it was some time after that.
Yet again, Ron has been dealt another blow. Every trip is extremely costly, and this one has been particularly so, due to having the radar technicians and support teams involved. It is crushing, after so many years of working and dreaming, to be so near the end of one's quest, only to be halted again so abruptly. As he has had to do on so many occasions, he calls on almost superhuman patience and tolerance, and once again, he waits. Ron's patience and willingness to persevere pay off. In August 1985, he receives the necessary permits and clearance to perform the radar examinations. At long last, they perform the scan, and the results are stunning. Before their very eyes, the machine tells the story of what lies beneath the surface of the object. There are massive keelsons, deck timbers, open chambers, gunnels, and other various configurations which Ron and other specialists believe identifies the object as the remains of an ancient man-made ship.
Basically, the radar scans show the same thing that the metal detector scans did, only with more detail. They show there is a pattern. They show there's a pattern of linear lines, there's a pattern of cross lines, and there's a pattern of even distribution to these lines in both directions. Now, that's precisely what you would expect out of the remains of a ship-type object. because you would have a keel, you would have parallel lines which would be keelsons, and you would have the transverse lines which would be bulkheads and other reinforcing of the ship.
Immediately after the earthquake, it was to measure the depth of the deposit or the remains of the boat along the length of the boat. At the point where the deposit thickened, it was at that point that the upper decks began. And we found that this was a three-tiered or three-decked boat. Now in 1985, 1986, and 87, we were able to measure this laterally also. This data, with the data that we got from the radar scan, allows us to know what the boat looked like and to be able to reproduce a model, scale model of that boat within very close tolerances of what it actually looked like.
After consulting computer specialists and careful, detailed review of years of research and combined data, Ron constructs a scale model of what his data tells him the Ark resembled.
This is the best estimate of what Noah's Ark looked like. And we've designed this so that we can take it apart and show you what the inside looked like. Now the deck portion of the boat shows up very clearly on the radar scans, and we have reproduced that here in the deck portion of the model. We're delighted with the results, and at this point in time, personally, I can look anybody in the eye and say that this boat-shaped formation in eastern Turkey is actually the remains of Noah's Ark.
We've gone about as far as we can go in surface survey work and even scanning work. There are other types of scans that could be done. I don't know that it would be that helpful really to get more scans. What we really need now is excavation. But I would say that each one of these positive steps does point directly identifying this formation as containing remains of Noah's Ark, but the final proof of the pudding ultimately must come from excavation. In terms of the importance of the location of Noah's Ark and the identification of it, I would say make three main points. First of all, as one goes through the history of the human race in the Bible, this stands as an important historical event, a very transitional event. It's an event that divides two eras in biblical history. So just in terms of history of the race, it's an important event. Second, I would say that it will have far-reaching implications in the realms of both science and history. Obviously, some scientific theories are going to have to be revised if we really have found a boat-shaped formation from Diluvian times at the 6,300-foot level in these mountains in eastern Turkey. Third, I would say that there is a religious teaching out of it. There's a theology in Genesis 6 to 9, the three chapters that cover the flood story, and I would say it reveals two sides of the character of God. It reveals the side of character of God as judge, and it reveals the side of the character of God as redeemer. It reveals his character as judge of the antediluvians for the nature of their civilization, yet his redemptive activity is shown in his graciousness and mercy extended to Noah and his family.
Why do explorers risk their lives searching for the remains of the Ark? Many have died in the quest. For some, surely the adventure is enough. But for most, there's more. A need, perhaps a hunger, to know more about our human heritage, our basic beginnings. Who are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Do these captivating regions hold the secrets to our earliest beginnings as a race? Is this indeed the cradle of all civilization? What do these discoveries mean? Are they clues to the final answers to the questions of the birth of the human race? And if not, what is this mysterious ship-shaped object located 6,300 feet above sea level in the mountains of Ararat? Ron thinks he knows some of the answers. He believes it is Noah's Ark found.